Welcome to the Global Gaming Business Podcast. My guest today is Joe Asher, the owner and operator of the new Sportsbook in Nevada, Boomers. Joe, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Well, congratulations on the launch of Boomers. It's really nice brand. I think it kind of resonates. But why did you decide to go back into this business? You've built a lot of successful sportsbooks up until now, and were you just tired, or?
Well, it was time to get back in action, Roger.
Yeah.
When Caesars bought William Hill in April of 2021, I was sort of burned out and needed a break and took some time off, and then came back and worked at IGT, which allowed me to serve out my non-compete with William Hill, and also I wasn't really ready to get back into it from the operator perspective.
Sure.
But every few months I'd get a call from somebody, and it would, what are my options for a sports book in Nevada? It's not the same since you left. What should I do? And that sort of thing. And I walk people through their options. And this was, like I said, it'd come up every few months. And then I got appointed to chair the board of the Wilson Center, so I was going back and forth to Washington, D.C. quite a bit. And then I would say probably early last year is when I started to think more seriously about maybe it is time to get back into the business. Is there an opportunity to pursue in Nevada? And obviously, ultimately, I concluded that there was, and went about building this business.
Okay. So you work for IGT, you're head of their sportsbook division, and you were just kind of waiting to have your non-compete then?
Well, I mean, not quite. Not only that. I mean, that was certainly one aspect. That was certainly one aspect. But Enrico Drago, who was the fellow who brought me in, and I knew Enrico, and then become friendly with him because William Hill and IGT had worked together on the Rhode Island lottery. And he sort of asked if I'd come in and help him get his arms around the sports betting business at IGT, which is a B2B hardware software business. And that was something that I could do at that time. And came in and started to get my arms around that business, brought in some people. Joe Bertoloni came in and is now running that business. So it was never intended to be like a really long-term thing. I think it wound up being about around 2 years or so. But it was time to move on. I had shifted to part-time when the Wilson Center appointment came, and so I was part-time with IGT and working on the Wilson Center stuff. But the IGT role, I'd done what I'd come in to do, and Joe was obviously more than capable of running that business. So it was a good time for me to leave.
Sure, absolutely. So what made you decide to come back into the sportsbook in terms of Boomers and the way you've done it here in Nevada?
Well, there's an opportunity that's Nevada specific, and it's because of the in-person sign-up requirement in Nevada. In order to get a mobile account in Nevada, you must physically go in person and register, open your mobile account. Once you do that, then you can bet statewide. In I think all the other states, there is no in-person sign-up requirement any longer. Some of them had it when they legalized sports betting, but it's rolled off. But that in-person sign-up requirement really does shape the industry here in Nevada. And so I think that there's an opportunity for someone to come and build a network of a couple of dozen locations spread out across the state where people can come in, they can bet, they can watch a game in some of the places, but they can also sign up for their mobile account. So if we can get this statewide network built, then I think we can have the economies of scale and effectively, look, we're competing with William Hill. I mean, they're the 800-pound gorilla in this space in Nevada. They've got well over 100 retail sportsbook locations across the state, and clearly a majority of the revenue. So they're the 800-pound gorilla. Boomer, he was a 20-pound Dotson Cocker Spaniel mix. He was our dog who died a year ago, Thanksgiving, and he's not going to slay the 800-pound gorilla, but maybe we can put him on a diet and carve out enough for ourselves.
Sure, nip out the heels a little bit.
Look, the Williamville business is a great business.
Sure.
And they dominate the market in Nevada. I'm of the view that there ought to be it ought to be a fair, competitive landscape, and I think we can build a nice little business.
Great. So what makes Boomers unique?
Well, several things. So, number one, it's we're, as I mentioned, we're 100% Nevada focused. Right? We're not doing anything outside Nevada. I've turned down opportunities outside of Nevada to concentrate on this market.
Sure.
Really focused on the locals market in particular in Las Vegas and outside of Las Vegas right now. We're in Elko and Carson City up north. More properties to come up north. Down here, we're over at Ellis Island in Las Vegas, as well as now at Ojos Locos in North Las Vegas, Casino Valley Verde in Henderson, and we're offering an attractive sign-up offer to customers when they sign up for their mobile account. And this football season, we're offering minus 105 on all NFL games. Instead of typically you have to put up 110 to win 100. We're doing it at minus 105. But beyond that promotion, we're also offering what I think is very sort of competitive and fair pricing to consumers, and we're urging people to check the price. This is a mature market for sports betting, and so anybody who wants a sports betting account, they probably already have at least one.
Right.
So we've got to motivate folks to get up off the couch and go and sign up. It's the sign up offer, it's the pricing, it's the promotions, the efforts that we're making to take care of customers. Sort of all those things, and the check the price thing I think is important because it's just sort of not like marriage where you have to divorce your first wife to marry the second. You can keep your existing sports betting app, just add hours, and then check the price, and when it's advantageous for you to bet with us. If it's not, then don't.
Yeah, great. So how many casinos are you partnering with so far?
Well, so far we have the 5 open. The old commercial in Elko was first on August the 1st. Then on August 4th, we opened up at Gary Ellis's 2 properties down here, Ellis Island and Casino Valley Verde. The next one up was the Casino Fandango up in Carson City. Great property up there. Ojos Locos, we just opened up there last week.
Okay.
We're on the Gaming Control Board agenda tomorrow to put a kiosk at the old Mitzpah up in Tonopah.
Okay.
We've got 4 other applications pending with the Gaming Control Board as well. We're going to do something up in Reno and Lake Tahoe and in Fallon as well. And there are a number of others that we're getting close with. So the goal is to try to have 10 open within the first year of operation. We're going to surpass that, still just trying to build the business brick by brick.
Sure. So tell us about the app. I find a lot of sports betting apps are kind of clumsy and not intuitive. Did you do something different with your app?
Well, so we're using IGT for the tech stack, including the mobile app, and obviously I was very involved in building out that app during my tenure at IGT, And then subsequent to that, there's some other things that we've worked on in partnership with IGT to really expedite the sign-up process. It's a very convenient, easy-to-use app from a sign-up perspective, from a rewards perspective, and to access the betting menu. It's a pretty slick app. I feel good about it. The reviews have been really good. If you check out the reviews in the Apple App Store or the Google Store. And so the feedback on it has been pretty good. It's really coming down to this core principle of let's offer customers, a good bet at a fair price, and really try to cater to this Nevada market.
So you mentioned currently bettors in Nevada have to go to a property to deposit. Is that the case with Boomers?
Not to deposit, to sign up for the mobile app.
I see, okay.
You can deposit in person, but you can also deposit electronically using a debit card. There's quite a bit of folks who now choose to do that. You can go through the Pay Near Me network. You can go to places like 7-Eleven, CVS to deposit in cash. We are going to do deposit kiosks in some bars and taverns as well. That'll hopefully roll out early in the new year, to make it even more accessible for people to fund. So the key thing is, getting that first trip to the casino for someone to sign up, and then get them obviously to deposit, and then retain them as customers.
Right. So they still have to go to a casino to sign up.
They have to go to sign up the one time. Correct.
Okay, great. So you mentioned the competitor William Hill. I mean, that's the giant, but you also have stations. They've got a lot of work, and of course Circa. So why would somebody pick Boomers instead of one of these other larger operators to sign up for?
Well, it's all the things I outlined earlier, right? It's the sign-up offer, the competitive pricing. I think is a big one. The promotions. We've got a thing that we started called Point Spread Insurance. We'll pick a marquee game a couple of times a week, and let's say Kansas City's a 3.5 point favorite in a game, popular public team. You can bet them with us, and if they win the game but don't cover, then you get your money back in free bets up to $25. And so, effectively, what it means is you get the 3.5. You lay in the 3.5, but it's really a money line bet in many respects, without having to pay the price for a money line bet, because you're getting the free bets if they win but don't cover.
Right.
So promotions are around that, things that we think are attractive to customers. But the day in, the day out, the bread and butter is the pricing and making sure that we keep a tight theoretical margin. William Hill's been expanding their margin. They've got a big corporate-wide push to try to get their hold up to 10%. Well, that comes at the expense of the consumer. So if we're dealing a lower theoretical margin. It's not just football, by the way. It's the other sports as well. But the customer gets to decide. He can go on the app, and if the price is better somewhere else, he can bet there. But more often than not, he'll find a better deal with us.
Okay. How about the independent casinos that hire you to run their sports book? I mean, why would they choose you instead of all these other ones I just mentioned? Also work with independent casinos.
Well, so we're the only independent sports book in the state of Nevada. We're the only one that's independent because, Caesars owns William Hill. They're not independent, right? The Circa, they have that beautiful property in downtown Las Vegas, and that's the main focus for them. Stations, they've got these great, beautiful properties, right? I go to Durango, not far from here, great property. I'm a customer. But that's what matters to them. They're not independent, right? So somebody partnering with us, we're independent. Every single person who works in this business lives in the state of Nevada. We're not hopping on a plane to go to, a Caesar's property in Louisiana because there's something going on there, or they're opening a new sports book in Missouri. That doesn't matter to us.
Right.
We're right here in Nevada. If there's any issue, we're going to be on top of it right away. We're super focused on promoting these properties because this is all we got.
Right.
So, we're hyper focused on all these properties, and in working very closely with the casino partners. Right. That I think is a big thing, and they're important to us. Right. This is a small business. It happens to be staffed with people who have been around the block a few times and know what's going on. But we're laser focused on working with our partners and building out this business in Nevada.
Okay, great. So you've got some impressive talent that you've attracted here. A lot of them have worked for you previously. What was the lure to get them in here?
Well, it's a little bit of getting the band back together again, and I analogize it to the Eagles at the Sphere, where you got the old cast members, but then you got the new kids as well, and kind of that's the way I think of it as well. We've got, of course, Nick Bogdanovich is probably the most well-known number one bookmaker in Las Vegas. He was the head bookmaker for William Hill from the very first day in 2012 till the very last day in April of 2021.
Right.
Dave Grohlman, who oversees all of our operations and customer support. Dave, worked at William Hill for quite a long time, and then was at Fanatics. Left Fanatics to help start Boomers with me, and Debonique Blackburn, who's our head of HR, was the head of HR at William Hill as well. And then she had left post Caesar's acquisition, was actually working for Gary Ellis at Ellis Island, and Gary was kind enough to let me bring her back. And then other folks as well, Dave Lichterman, who works in operations, he quit at Caesar's to come with us. The lady who's in charge of customer support, and we talked about things, why should people bet with us? We actually have customer support staffed right here in our main office, our only office here in Las Vegas. You're not forced to email or talk to a chat bot and hope somebody responds. There's like a real person you can call who's going to help you figure out what your issue is. And so, we've got a really, high quality team of people. And we built that with the idea that, we're going to get, that statewide footprint and get a couple of dozen locations up and going here and build out a nice little business.
Okay. So let's talk about some general sports betting issues to begin with. Here in Nevada, you have to compete with the companies we've already spoken about, but you're also competing with this illegal prediction market now, led by Kalshi. So how does that change things for you, and how you price your bets?
Well, first of all, I don't know why these are called prediction markets, right? That is the most unbelievable euphemism that I can imagine. They are betting exchanges, gambling exchanges, right? And we should call them what they are. They're not. This prediction markets thing is just it's trying to sanitize a gambling business, right? And so I'd urge everyone to call these things for what they are, and there's a reason behind that, right? I happen to be of the view that gambling is a business that should be heavily regulated. Okay, there are a certain number of people who get into real problems from gambling. Okay, my father was one of them. Okay, he was a compulsive gambler and caused a lot of problems in his life, and so I've seen up close the harm that gambling can cause. Okay, so when you call this stuff prediction markets and you talk about it as some sort of investment class of assets, and this like ridiculous idea that you can gamble on these betting exchanges with your 401k. I mean, this is lunacy, okay? It's lunacy, and I fully commend the Gaming Control Board here and Chairman Dreitzer for calling it out and trying to put a stop to it, right? But this idea that there's nationwide betting exchanges essentially unregulated,
Right.
theoretically under the auspices of the CFTC. I mean, it's nonsense. Okay, people are trying to run gambling businesses, and they don't have the tools in place to do it properly. And they're trying to pretend that they're modern entrepreneurs,
Right.
and that they're coming up with some great technological advancements. Betting exchanges have been around for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
They're legal in other parts of the world. There's a horse betting exchange in New Jersey, for instance, that Dennis Drazen did. So this is not a new concept, but let's not pretend it's something other than it is. It's gambling.
Right. And even on non-sporting events, elections, for example, I mean, that's not bad. It's not a financial instrument.
Well, it's gambling. Look, I've bet on presidential elections.
Sure.
I mean, I was over in the UK and bet on Biden to win the election in 2020. I bet on other elections in the past when I was over there. So people bet on elections. I have no objection to people betting on elections. I just sort of think it should be regulated, and people need to understand, what it is. It's a bet,
Yeah.
right? And pretending it's something different, I'm not a fan of. Look, the information that you can glean from a betting exchange can be very interesting,
Sure.
right? It gives you, what the market thinks a person's chances are of winning a game or winning a particular election, and I follow it closely around the elections, but it's gambling, and so we should pay attention to that simple fact. But the sanitization of it, with this misnomer of prediction markets,
Right.
it's gambling.
Yeah, no question about that. And it's also, I guess there's some taxes on it, income taxes and things like that, but the state doesn't get their cut of that at all.
Right. No, these gambling businesses are competing with the state licensed gambling businesses, and I saw. I don't want to quote the numbers because I might get them wrong, but I saw a pleading. I think it was in one of the. I think it was the Kalshi case that said like they had 16,000 registered users in the state of Nevada, and some huge number of contracts had been entered into, which is just another name for bets.
Sure.
And don't forget, by the way, with these betting exchanges, they have Susquehanna serving as a market maker,
Right.
which is effectively a bookmaker. They have a Kalshi affiliate as a market maker, essentially a bookmaker. And so, obviously some percentage of these wagers, right, would otherwise be placed in the legal, regulated, and taxed market that exists here in Nevada, would be subject to the gaming tax, as you mentioned. Other states, they've got very high gaming taxes. They should be up in arms about this, like in New York, where the legal, regulated sports books are paying a 51% tax rate, and going through all the probity checks and everything else that's involved. And then, you have these other folks come in and start operating these betting exchanges and not paying the state gaming tax.
Right.
That's fundamentally unfair, and it's ultimately going to deprive states of revenue.
Right. So, Kalshi's pouring a lot of money into their legal fees with the attorneys coming up with arguments and things like that. Should this become legal, if the courts rule that it's legal, how is that going to fundamentally change the sports betting market?
We're going to have a dual class setup where some folks are operating within the state regulated and taxed framework, and other people are not. Now, then it becomes about, customer preferences and the products that's being offered.
Right.
I think the long-term implications are unclear, but, if it's okay to have a betting exchange offering wagers on sports, well, then why not on blackjack?
Right.
Why not on roulette?
Mm.
Let's have a prediction market on, the next spin of a roulette wheel. I mean, so where does it stop?
Right.
So, and others in the industry, I think, have spoken about this issue as well. And so how does that ultimately play out, where you have some sort of dual class marketplace? We'll find out. Look, I'm not convinced that the commercial opportunity that's being portrayed by these folks is necessarily as big as what they think. Certainly, the experience in the UK has been essentially one winner, right? Betfair won.
Yeah.
Everybody else lost, really. But how many betting exchanges can the market support? Because it becomes all about liquidity,
Right.
and the person being able to get their bet down. Now they've found a clever way to deal with the liquidity issue by having these market makers effectively taking the opposite sides of bets, which again, it makes them bookmakers.
Yeah.
But how many of these betting exchanges can survive?
Right.
I think that's an unknown question. Look, we'll see what happens in the courts. We'll see what happens in the next administration when that is 3 years on from now, and they may well have a different point of view, right? I mean, we have to acknowledge that the president's son is a board advisor to Polymarket, I think it is, and a strategic advisor to Kalshi. I don't know about that, right? So, ultimately, you'd think this goes to the Supreme Court. Down the line, we'll see if Congress does something to alleviate this situation. But it's fascinating, and if your listeners get one thing out of me on this topic from the podcast, these are betting exchanges.
Right. Don't call them predictions.
Right, so maybe it's two things, right? It's two things. Go sign up for your Boomer sports betting account when you're in Nevada, and please bet with us. That would be greatly appreciated.
Right.
And all these other things, they're betting exchanges.
So just yesterday, Missouri entered the sports betting business. Are there any other states that are close to coming in? I know we don't have California, we don't have Texas so far. And are there any other states that you can see down the road that are close right now?
Nothing that's kind of on my immediate radar screen. There's obviously, look, now that there's 30-some states that have legalized sports betting, those that haven't are fewer and fewer, and obviously there are issues that make them particularly complicated, like we all know about California.
Sure.
And you've got tribal considerations in other states as well. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. But in the meantime, obviously, you've got FanDuel and DraftKings have decided to get into the betting exchange business in these other states. We'll see how that shakes out as well. But unclear sort of the next state to legalize traditional sports betting to me.
So we've had scandals in the past few months in all the professional sports leagues, pretty much. In the major leagues, the pitcher throws a ball, and when at a certain pitch that influences one of those live wagers type of thing. Do you think that we're catching these things because it is a legal operation here, or do you think the players are being tempted more frequently because there's more people betting?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think it's both, in fairness. Look, I mean, the idea that you can bet, large amounts of money, $5,000, $10,000 on whether the next pitch is going to be a ball or a strike, that I don't think that's a good business practice, right?
Sure.
And I think this, the response from Major League Baseball, with I think Governor DeWine involved, was to limit it to $200 a wager. which sort of seems like a reasonable outcome to me, because when you start having, tens of thousands of dollars involved, you're going to get you get this situation where you have a pitcher, kind of throws one in the dirt to cash, to cash the bet, and it has such a minimal effect on the outcome of the game. That's not a healthy construct. And look, I think there's clearly risk too at the college level.
Sure.
We all like to think that professional athletes are so well paid that they're not going to get involved in anything nefarious. But the reality is, look, there are some people who rather make a dishonest dollar than an honest 10. It's just the way they're wired, right? And it's these wagers where one individual can determine the outcome that I think need heightened scrutiny. I'm in favor of it being done through the regulatory process, because if you leave it up to individual betting companies, it's really hard, because if company A is not offering a type of bet, but company B is, are they going to lose the customer to company B?
Right.
And so you have this sort of competitive tension. I think it's real important to have everybody working under the same rules. I think the clearly there's messing around with games has been stuff that's come up from time to time, going back a long time, right? 100 years to the Black Sox scandal and the World Series, to Arizona State and the point shaving. So, this kind of stuff, does go on. I certainly believe, having a legal and regulated market is helps fight that, because the legal operators will report this type of activity, and it becomes very easy to catch the people, which then serves as a deterrent. But the fact that you have this legal market now, with all the advertising surrounding it, clearly it leads to an increase in problem gambling that we have to be straightforward and honest about. But it then has some of these players thinking, maybe what should I do here? And as I say, when you do it on things like the pitch, and if you're able to get like $5,000 or $10,000 down on a pitch, that's that's not a very healthy environment. So I'm a believer that we really need to have regulation around this area, and that's a reason to have the legal regulated market involved with their state regulators. I think who knows what the integrity provisions are at the betting exchanges, and if any, and so it's important to regulate this stuff, and it's hard too, by the way, because you talk about an outcome that an individual player can affect. Well, I think there's a difference between, will the next pitch be a ball or a strike, versus how many passing yards is Patrick Mahomes going to have in a particular game, or is Jalen Hurts going to score a touchdown in this game, yes or no? And those latter things are things that there's broad public interest in. I like to bet whether or not Hurts is going to score a touchdown. I'm an Eagles fan. That's fundamentally different than betting thousands and thousands of dollars on one pitch.
Right. So just because of these scandals, there's been some movement to do away with the live betting, do away with certain prop bets, like things that the players could actually control. Maybe the number of pitches that a pitcher throws, or that kind of thing. Are they really important to the industry that those things remain bettable?
Well, I think we should stand for the proposition that it should be bettable and regulated, right? And you can get with this issue, at this through limits, which is what the ultimate outcome was with the Major League Baseball partners and Governor DeWine. The question always is, if you can't do something in the legal market, but you can do it in the illegal market, do you lose customers to the illegal market? Do you increase their level of betting in the illegal market? Keep in mind too, a lot of normal people don't. They might be betting in the black market and not even realize it, right? They've heard that sports betting is now legal, and they've got their offshore account, and it's just they don't even think about it, right? And I had this happen with a relative of mine in Pennsylvania when sports betting was legalized. I said, "Oh, you're betting? Who you betting with?" And he told me the name. It was a black market operator. He had no idea.
No, exactly.
He had no idea it was illegal. And so, I'm of the view that it's better off trying to control it and regulate it within the legal market. Can the world live without betting pitch, ball or strike in baseball? Sure. But to the extent that the person, is able to get that bet down in the black market and not in the legal market, I think that is a problem. And so we ought to try to find out a way for things to be done in the legal market in a way that preserves integrity.
So the former station casino bookmaker Art Manteris recently wrote a book about his experiences, and at the end of the book he says something like that the bookmakers should not partner with any professional sports league or team because it's just the perception. What do you think of that statement?
Well, I haven't read the book yet, but I will. But look, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with a team partnering with a sports betting company. During my tenure at William Hill, we did deals with some teams, including the Golden Knights, and I was a big fan of having the William Hill sign on the dasher board behind the net. It gave us very good visibility, and so I don't have an issue with partnering with the leagues. I think it's important as well, for information sharing to be facilitated as well. So we have different roles in the broader sports ecosystem, but I think it's positive to work together.
Okay, great. So let's talk football. The NFL season is coming to a close. I know you're a big Eagle fan. They're not looking too good right now, but and a lot of the teams that were supposed to be good aren't that good now. How do you balance that when you're trying to make book on these guys?
Yeah, well, look, it's been a great season. A fun season in the NFL. The Eagles were up, then they were down, then they were up again. Now they're down again, and folks are trying to figure out kind of what's going on with the Eagles, including me and a number of friends who I'm in regular touch with. The Cowboys have certainly turned the ship around in a big way. Is Kansas City going to make the playoffs or not? The Bears are the number one seed in the NFC. I mean, that's unbelievable. The Broncos, are they really that good?
Yeah.
I mean, and same with the Bears, right? They just keep winning.
The Patriots too. Are they really that good?
Patriots, yeah. I mean, the Patriots are, for me anyway, a little easier to believe them as a top team. I mean, I'm bought into Drake May and Reese and Vrabel up there. So fascinating season. Thanksgiving. The Thanksgiving slate, like all the underdogs, won. The favorites all went down on Thanksgiving. Cowboys had just a great game, and if you're an Eagles fan and a team goes 2-15 during the season, as long as those 2 wins were against Dallas, not all is lost, right? So you're conditioned to hate Dallas, but and so when they beat the Eagles, it's doubly painful,
Yeah.
especially when the Eagles are up 21-0,
Yeah.
and the wheels completely fall off the bus. So anyway, it's been a great season. Going forward, the Rams I think are a pretty tough team, even though they got beat this past weekend as well. And so, and I do think Philly will right the ship as well. We'll see what happens with the offensive coordinator, who's under nonstop criticism in the Philadelphia area.
My son's a huge Eagles fan, and he was screaming at the TV, "Get rid of this offensive coordinator!"
Oh yeah, there's like these road signs have been posted. Fire Kevin Petula, right? And they egged his house, which I'm not a fan of at all. Egged the guy's house. They shouldn't do that. But anyway, it's been a great season. I do think the Eagles can right the ship and make a run here.
So
we'll see
who
what
do you
happens.
have as favorite for the Super Bowl now?
The Rams were the favorite, and I think they still are, notwithstanding the loss. And then in the AFC, boy, I think the AFC is just wide open. Really, I mean, we're all conditioned to think that somehow Mahomes and Andy Reid are going to pull the rabbit out of the hat, but boy, they're at real risk of missing the playoffs. And is this the end of the dynasty? Right? Does Kelsey come back next year at all after his marriage? Is what's going on with Buffalo? Right?
Yeah, sure.
So at this point in the season, I can't remember it being so unclear as to as to what the players are going to look like in recent memory.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a fun playoff situation for sure. So talk hockey. We're both big Golden Knights fans. They're in a semi-slump right now. Do you think they're going to right the ship?
I do. I think it's Mark Stone, man. Could any the difference that he makes on this team. I mean, the struggles. They were doing great, then he gets hurt, then they struggle, and then he comes back, and there's an immediate jolt. They've got to get the goaltending situation figured out, obviously, and that's, I think, very unclear with VGK right now. They're getting ready to go on the New York trip, which I like. I'm going to go to the Rangers game.
Oh, cool.
I went, last year as well, so I enjoy that game. But I do think they're a pretty good team. But that whole division, there's not much separating. The top 4 or 5 teams.
Right.
I'm totally into watching San Jose now with Celebrini. I think Celebrini is an unbelievable player. I saw him last year. I went to the Knights game in San Jose and saw him for the first time, and I've kind of bought into that in a big way. I think he's really top player. And so I think the NHL is in a great place. The league's growing. We'll see what the expansion looks like as well, and how many teams do you want to go up to? But I'm a big Gary Bettman fan, and I think the NHL is in a really good place right now.
Sure. So we're going to have a baseball team in Las Vegas starting in 2028. Las Vegas A's. I still don't know why they didn't move here. Had a pit stop in Sacramento, but they've got a really exciting team right now. They've got some really good players. I saw them in Sacramento this year, and they're really going to light up here in Vegas. I'm excited about that. Do you think that's going to really rekindle interest in baseball betting here?
Look, it's certainly going to help, right? And certainly that kind of stuff helps the town, because it's all as we've seen with the Raiders in particular, right? It's all the visitors coming to town, and people want to come out here and watch their team play. It's going to be great for MGM, right? To have that right across from the MGM Grand, and look, that place is under construction. You can see the construction going on. You got a young player who actually is from Delaware. I knew his parents back in the day, Zach Geloff. The town, people will go to A's games, but it's a lot of games, right?
Yeah, sure.
81 home games is a lot. So, it's going to be real important to get, the visitors out here. And I'm sure, the guys at Major League Baseball are no dummies, right? They'll, make sure that the Red Sox and the teams from the Northeast are coming out here when it's cold,
Right,
back home.
Yeah.
And the weather's much better out here.
Yeah.
We'll see how that sort of, site works for locals, right? It's a little trickier,
Right.
when you have to cross the strip coming from,
Right.
obviously from the west side of town. The hotels in immediate proximity to that, no doubt we'll get a nice little bump out of it.
Right. Well, Joe, congratulations on the launch of Boomers. It's really going to be an exciting time. I'm going to have to go download the app now that we talked. I used to do William Hill, and they've got so impersonal now. I mean, I was there in the beginning with John English and Vic Salerno when they launched it. And then William came in and bought it from them. But I was a steady fan for all that time. But now, I get some problems and I can't contact anybody. It's real frustrating. So I'm glad to see that you have that personal service, motto in your company here, and I'll be a fan for sure.
Well, I appreciate that very much, and look forward to having you as a customer. And if there's ever any issues, just let us know. But I think you'll be pretty happy with it. But I appreciate it.
Great, thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay, great.